What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's transfer tips for Game Week 21. So I'm going to go through some of the popular players being put into people's squads or taken out and give my opinion on whether they are good moves or not. So let's get into it. So let's start with the biggest talking point this week. What to do with Hugo Ekitike, who wasn't in the squad for Liverpool against Fulham in Game Week 20. Before the game, Slot said that he had a slight hamstring problem and that hopefully he'd be back for Arsenal. After the game, he said that he travelled and felt something in a training session. So it doesn't seem like it's this big injury that's going to keep him out for a while, and he could even move back for Game Week 21. The problem you've got if you own him is the game against Arsenal is on Thursday, and the deadline is on Tuesday. So there is every chance that Slot's press conference is on Wednesday after the deadline. So I'm not sure if you're going to get another update. Now, Liverpool do have Burnley at home in Game Week 22. So it's Arsenal away. Then I think it's Barnsley at home in the FA Cup. Then it's Burnley at home in 22. So presumably, whether he plays against Arsenal or not, he'll probably get a good rest in the FA Cup. So if you were thinking about keeping him for that Burnley game, I still think that's viable. There is every chance he's in the squad for Arsenal. And as long as he's okay by Game Week 22, he should start that game against Burnley. So if you could bench him this week, if you've got good cover, I think that's absolutely fine. And arguably, if he is fit for Game Week 22, maybe he's a captaincy option. A lot of people went for Ekitike when he played Wolves at home. Why not do it again for Burnley at home? That week for Man City, Haaland's away to Man United. So it's a pretty good fixture still for Haaland. But you could argue that Ekitike is a nice option. So I think it's okay to keep him. If you're thinking about selling him, I think that's also perfectly reasonable. You've got a 9.1 million forward, not on penalties, does seem to have, I don't want to say that he's got fitness problems, but he hasn't completed that many games for Liverpool. Now, part of the reason is because of Isak, of course, before he got injured, but he's only completed 90 minutes 3 times. He always seems to be cramping at the end of games. Now he's got a slight hamstring problem. I'm not sure if he can cope with the amount of minutes that he has to play right now. So, as always with FPL, it's not just a black and white, you should do this, you should do that. It's okay to keep him for Burnley. It's also okay to sell him and probably free up some funds from that spot. In terms of replacements, there's a lot of ways you can go with this. I know a lot of people have started looking at Ollie Watkins, which I don't hate. 8.7 million. So he is a little bit cheaper. My one worry with him is the minutes. Now, when he starts, he's averaged 81 minutes per start, which is pretty good. But he just got benched in Game Week 18 against Chelsea. We know Villa have got Champions League matches and stuff like that in January. Okay, it's all well and good looking at the last 2 games where he played 82 and 90 minutes. Before that, 32, 74, 74, 65, 85, 36, 67. That doesn't read quite so good. Now, maybe because of how well he's playing right now, he'll just continue to start every single game. But there are slight doubts there. He's also not on penalties. He's also quite expensive. And 2 of the next 3 fixtures are away from home, Palace, Newcastle. Personally, I think Watkins is one of those picks right now, which is good, but also slightly overrated. I don't think I would be moving Ekitike to Watkins personally. Mateta, 7.6 million, so 1.1 million less. He's also had fairly good minutes recently. There was that period where he kept getting subbed around 60 minutes, but last 3 games, 86, 90, 90. So maybe he's doing a little bit better now. He is on penalties and he's a lot cheaper than Watkins. And he's got Villa at home, Sunderland away, Chelsea at home, next 3. So not an amazing fixture run, but certainly no worse than what Aston Villa have got. And after that, it's Forest away, Brighton away, Burnley at home. And once you get to that Burnley game, it's then Wolves at home straight afterwards. So Mateta, I know a lot of us sold him recently, and we probably haven't looked back. But actually, I think he's an okay pickup right now if you want someone around that 7.5 million price point. Jared Bowen, I think I would probably ignore. Basically, I don't think Bowen is a bad pick, but I think I would choose Mateta over him. Like, Bowen's goal threat this season's been quite low, 0.22 expected goals per 90. Mateta has double that, plus Mateta has penalties as well. Now, Bowen plays 90 minutes every single game, and that will not change. But it's 90 minutes for a West Ham team. And don't get me wrong, I've got Paquetá, right? I'm not against buying West Ham players. And the fixtures are slightly better next 3. But he's playing in a much worse team. So it's going to make it sound like I think everyone should go and buy Mateta. I don't think that. I just think he's probably better than Bowen. and I like the fact that he's cheaper than Watkins. Another option is to go back to Thiago. I know a lot of people did Thiago to Ekitike. I'm not sure I would do that. I think as a Thiago owner, I'm not against keeping him for the long term, but I have thought quite a bit about selling him soon, because after Sunderland at home, it's Chelsea away, not great. He's also got Newcastle away in 25, Arsenal at home in 26. Now, he is a nailed-on penalty taker that plays close to 90 minutes every game. Could there be a slight minutes reduction against Sunderland because of the amount of games he's played recently? Possibly. But after that, he should be fine. So I don't mind it at 6.9, and he's a lot cheaper than the other players I've spoken about. But it feels like the wrong time to get him back. Like Chelsea and Villa away in the next 4. Like basically forwards are just a bit rubbish all over. I don't mind Thiago. And obviously he's 0.7 million cheaper than Mateta, but like 3, you could even argue that 4 of the next 6 are just not great. Away games against Chelsea, Villa and Newcastle, and a home game against Arsenal. If you're going to back against him, this is the time to do it. If you sold him, I would not go back. If you've got him and you want to keep hold of him, fair enough. I don't think I would buy him. Or you could go a lot cheaper. Calvert-Lewin, 5.9 million. But again, he doesn't have great fixtures either. 3 of the next 6 are Newcastle and Chelsea away and Arsenal at home. There's also an away game against Everton, which doesn't look so bad after Thiago scored a hat-trick yesterday, but it's still not amazing on paper. I think Calvert-Lewin's okay to go to if you specifically need someone cheap, but I'm not sure I'd want to bring him in and play him every week. The problem is there's not a huge amount of alternatives around that price. You've got someone like Igor Jesus, let me just bring him up here, for 5.8 million, who seems pretty nailed at the moment. West Ham away is a good fixture in 21, but then he plays Arsenal. But after that, the fixtures are pretty good. Brentford away, Palace at home, Leeds away, Wolves at home. So he might be a bit of a differential you could look at, 1.2% ownership. Or you've got Barry at Everton, 5.7 million. Wolves at home, Villa away, Leeds at home, Brighton away, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home, next 6. So you could look at him, but his minutes, like he did play 90 and 84 last 2 games, but you know there's always the potential for Beto to sub on for him and for him to come off around the 65th, 70th minute. So no, I think the general feeling with forwards is none of them are particularly that good. If I had if I was on a 3-forward setup, Ekitike, Thiago and Haaland, for example, which I know a lot of you are, I'd be very tempted just to tank one of those spots. Like if you want to sell Ekitike, just tank the spot and just put that money in midfield or defence. As someone that's on a 2-forward setup, I've still got zero intention of moving back to 3. There are just not enough options. It almost feels like talking through these like we're already scraping the barrel, trying to find the best pick. Like Watkins is fine, but as a non-owner, I'm not particularly worried about him given the price he costs. I think it just hurts your structure a little bit too much. So I think Mateta, if you want to go around 7.5, and if you want to go cheaper, probably Calvert-Lewin, but I'd be tempted by a punt on Jesus or Barry. In terms of which cheap forwards, like if you want to tank the spot, like Ashley Barnes is 4.2 million for Burnley. There is almost no chance that you will want 3 Burnley players at any point this season. So that's quite nice. Or you can go a bit more expensive. So Mane at Wolves has started the last 3 games. He's not playing as a striker, but for 4.5 million, if he's going to get regular minutes, that's not a bad option to have on the bench, spend a little bit more. Or Krupi Jr. Now, a lot of people think that Krupi Jr. is going to get lots more minutes when Semenyo goes. It could happen, but I'm pretty sure if Semenyo goes, Bournemouth will sign another player. I don't think they will just leave it as it is. So I wouldn't see Krupi Jr. going up massively, but he does often get minutes off the bench. We've seen that he's got an eye for goal. If you want someone a little bit better than just tanking the spot with an Ashley Barnes, then Mane and Krupi Jr. are the ones to go for. Don't buy Mark Guiu now. He's only 4.3, never plays, and you do not want to block a Chelsea spot. It's just not worth it. You may want 3 soon. So yeah, Ekitike, if you want to keep him for Burnley, I think that's fine. I'd be very surprised if this is like a long-term injury based on what Slot has said. But it's also okay to sell. I mean, you look at Liverpool's fixtures, Arsenal away this week, Newcastle at home 24, City at home 25. They're not that great outside of Burnley at home and Bournemouth away. So yeah, take your pick. What are you going to do? Let me know in the comments below. It pains me to have to talk about Malik Thiaw after I decided to go for Lewis Hall instead, but lots of people thinking about buying him after his 17-pointer at the weekend. He is just a pretty good pick right now. 5.1 million. Newcastle's defensive stats for the season have been really good. I know the clean sheets haven't been there, but they've been a top 5 defence for most of this season in terms of expected goals conceded. He seems to be nailed. I know they've got players coming back to fitness like Trippier, Livramento, Botman, etc. But he's got that right centre-back spot pretty much locked down. I don't see the need for him to have a rest. Leeds at home, fine to play. Wolves away, fine to play. Even if you had to play him against Villa at home in 23, Brentford at home in 25, there's plenty of opportunities where he could be used. He's now at 10.06 defensive contributions per start. So on average, every game he plays, he's getting very, very close to hitting the +2 points. Obviously, it's not quite that straightforward. Sometimes you'll hit more than 10, sometimes less. But on average, he's hitting the 10 mark. So that's quite nice. And he's definitely got some goal threat. He's already scored 3 goals this season. So I wouldn't go out of your way to buy him just because he's got 17 points. But if you do need a new defender this week and you don't already have another Newcastle defender, because I'm not sure I'd want to double up necessarily, he is the one to get. I can tell you, as someone that's brought Lewis Hall, I massively regret it. Maybe not massively, that's a bit harsh, but ever since I bought him, I knew the safer pick was Thiaw. Forget about the goal he scored. There's just no real worry about his fitness and his minutes. Like Lewis Hall had to get subbed around the 60th minute. There is a chance with the amount of fixtures Newcastle have got coming up that he just gets benched for one of these games, especially with Livramento back. If you want a Newcastle defender, the only one to look at right now is Thiaw. So let's stick to Newcastle because there's a couple of other players that I want to talk about. Nick Woltemade being one who didn't start for Newcastle for the second game in a row. Now, I don't think it's a complete surprise that Visser is preferred as the number 9 right now. He's got Premier League experience. There's a reason Newcastle brought him. We know how well he did for Brentford. But I'm a little bit surprised that he started 2 games back-to-back in relatively quick succession. Although, to be fair, the Burnley game in Game Week 19 was a Tuesday fixture, and they didn't play again until Sunday. So I guess it's not a complete shock. I just thought that because Visser had missed out so much of this season, Eddie Howe would kind of bring him in a little bit slower. So maybe Woltemade plays against Palace, then Visser starts the game after that. Either way, Woltemade is now a massive problem moving forward. Basically, he needs to be sold sooner rather than later because you can have no confidence in what his minutes will be like moving forward. Now, I know if you're an owner of Woltemade, what you're thinking right now. You're thinking Visser has started the last 2 games. Sunday was the fixture against Palace. They play again on Wednesday against Leeds. Surely Woltemade comes back in for that one. Maybe. The problem is I thought Woltemade would come in for the last game and it didn't happen. So I can have zero confidence in my predictions about whether Woltemade will start or not. If you want to keep him and take the punt because it's Leeds at home, it's a good fixture, I think that's fine. But you cannot complain if he gets benched again. Because right now it seems like Visser is preferred in that position. And as far as we know, from everything I've seen, Woltemade is not struggling with an injury or anything like that. So if you keep him and he doesn't start, I mean, he's just got to go, right? And if you want to sell him right now, I also think that's fine. I just spoke about forwards when I mentioned Ekitike, so you can take a look at that as to what you do with him. But he's just not a good option. But basically, I would ignore Woltemade and Visser. Like, obviously, Visser is a massive differential, and we know how good he is. But there's no guarantee that these minutes will continue. Like 79 against Burnley, 77 against Palace. There's every chance that he misses one of the next 2 games. You just cannot buy either. When they're both fit, then they're not an option. Neither of them. And Newcastle have so many fixtures in January. Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Champions League. And most of them are pretty important for them. And they've got difficult fixture in the FA Cup as well. Just ignore both. Woltemade, look, if you want to keep him this week, absolutely fine. Longer term, he's got to go. So every season, there's a couple of picks in FPL that I tend to ignore because I don't think they're quite as good as everyone else thinks. Not to say they're bad picks necessarily, but I'm just not as excited about them. And they go on to absolutely smash it. Bruno G at Newcastle is basically that player right now. If you look at his recent points, back-to-back 10-pointers, and he got a 10-pointer against Burnley in Game Week 15. He's just done really, really well, and obviously better than Anthony Gordon for a slightly cheaper price. Like Gordon got subbed around the 60th minute against Palace. Bruno G played the full game as he usually does, and he's only 7.1 million. Should we be rushing out to bring him in? Look, I can't sit here and say he's a bad pick. You've got Leeds at home, Wolves away, Villa at home, next 3, Brentford at home in 25. Even Liverpool away in 24 is probably not terrible right now. He's probably going to play every minute. Although he has got benched recently-ish. He was benched against Spurs back in Game Week 14. That was a midweek fixture. So potentially it could happen again, but it's not that likely it would happen. He's a perfectly reasonable pick. The thing I struggle with is you just look at those stats and it doesn't feel sustainable that he's going to keep getting this level of returns. Like his expected goals per 90 is 0.17. His actual goals per 90 is 0.38. So he's more than doubled his XG so far. And he's also doubled his creativity. So his expected assist 0.11, his actual assist 0.22. So at some point, if these underlying numbers continue, the returns will dry up. But as I always say, it's impossible to know how long that will take. We saw last season, right? I kept saying Forest attacking stats not that great. Chris Wood just absolutely smashed it. Now, Nottingham Forest not doing so well. That's taken a long time. It could be that the next 6 game weeks Bruno G does terrible. It could be that he smashes it because the fixtures are good, and then longer term the returns come down. I'm not quite sure, but I always struggle to buy players like this because he's not particularly great at anything. He's just okay at a bunch of things. Like he's not as good at defensive contributions as Declan Rice, for example, and his attacking stats are worse. I don't know. Like if you want to buy it, like I have no problem buying nailed on players for basically 90 minutes every week. I think generally that's a pretty good strategy. It's why, although I haven't brought Rodgers, I don't think he's a terrible pick. Bruno G is exactly the same. All I would say is you don't need to go out of your way to get him. Most of you will be sat there with a relatively decent midfield. Bruno G is probably not a massive upgrade. Like in most cases, I'd probably just rather save the transfer and then decide what to do later on. Maybe there's a more impactful move you can make. But if you need a new midfielder that's got good fixtures, he's certainly not awful. I wouldn't sit here and tell you that he's a bad pick, like Caicedo, for example. I'm not going to get it. I had to mention it. Yeah, he's fine. Will I be buying him anytime soon? Probably not, but I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe he is just good. Got multiple routes to points. I don't know. There's something that tells me just keep ignoring him, and eventually the rewards will come from other midfielders instead. So for 0.1 million, you can get one of those midfielders I just mentioned, Declan Rice. He's now 7.2. He's averaging 10.61 defensive contributions per start, so he's more likely to hit the additional 2 points more often than Bruno Guimaraes, and he's only a little bit more expensive, and his underlying numbers are better. Like, he's not a, Mateta or a Salah in his prime or anyone like that, but they are pretty good. Like 0.15 expected goals per 90, 0.2 expected assists, and he has also slightly overperformed on those numbers so far, but as a base level, like what he's performed at so far this season in terms of underlying numbers, they're pretty good. Plus he plays for Arsenal, and I suspect with the fixtures they've got coming up, Forest away 22, United at home 23, Leeds away 24, Sunderland at home 25, there's clean sheets to come. And yes, that's only a 1-pointer for a midfielder, but it all starts to add up. He gets DEFCONs and a clean sheet, suddenly that's 3 extra points. You're already on a 5-point for him without bonus and without potential attack and returns. So I really like him. I think people look at my team, when I don't own a player, they just assume that I hate that pick. For me, I've got 3 Arsenal already. Raya, Gabriel, Saka. My preference is always going to be to concentrate my transfers elsewhere rather than move Arsenal players around. Because Declan Rice is good, but he's not essential, right? My other Arsenal players will do fine, and then I can use my moves to hopefully get more points elsewhere. I still think that double Arsenal defence is the way forward. So if you've got Saka, unless you're desperate for the money for another move, it's never going to be a huge temptation to move him to Rice. So, and by the way, the reason that I think double defence is still the play rather than Saka and Rice, for example, is Arsenal defenders tend to be quite a bit better than other defenders versus how good midfielders are compared to other ones. Does that make sense? Like, I know Declan Rice has absolutely smashed it for points this season, and so what I'm saying right now sounds pretty stupid, right? I mean, you can get Declan Rice for 7.2 million, the highest scoring midfielder in the game. But without the hindsight of the points already scored, if I was looking at it moving forward, do I think Rice is going to massively outscore most other midfielders moving forward? Probably not. Whereas the Arsenal defenders have got a good chance of having a bigger gap to the next best defender. Does that make sense? So I like Rice. If I was wildcarding right now and I had to have 3 Arsenal, I suspect I wouldn't have Saka. I'd probably go Timber, Gabriel and Declan Rice, because I'd be looking at getting Palmer soon for Chelsea's fixtures. But depending on what your setup is, you don't need to panic about not having... That's the point I'm trying to get across, I think. You don't have to panic about not having Rice. Like for my team, I suspect a lot of people would do Saka to Rice and Paquetá upgrade to someone 8.9 million. But I don't really know which other midfield, like Bruno Gomes, I could go and get him, I suppose. But I think there's more interesting things to do with my transfers. Like, what about Chelsea players in a couple of weeks, etc. So all I can say is, I think, please listen, I think Declan Rice is a good pick. And if you need a new midfielder, I mean, that sounds so obvious to say, right? He's got 119 points, but I think he's a good pick despite not owning him. I just don't think you need to panic about not owning him. Should you, however, start to panic about not owning Gabriel from Arsenal? Probably not, to be honest. I mean, it is Liverpool at home this week. It's not an amazing fixture, but it is a very similar conversation to last game week. The price is going to continue to go up, and the more returns he gets, the quicker that price rise happens. So he's already up to 6.6 million. I don't know if he's going to rise in price tonight, but if he doesn't, I suspect he will rise in price tomorrow night. So once we're through the deadline and everyone's made their transfers, he'll probably rise Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. He'll then be 6.7 million. I know a lot of people are waiting until game week 22 to buy him. That's absolutely fine, dodging the Liverpool fixture. He's not going to continue scoring goals every single week. But just keep in mind, he's probably going to be 6.7. If you want to wait until as close to the deadline as possible because of the FA Cup weekend, he may even be like 6.8, especially if he scores again against Liverpool or gets a big return, like a clean sheet, defensive contributions, couple of bonus. There's every chance he can go and get double digits without, scoring a goal. So you don't need to panic. The thing for me with Gabriel, why I got him early, I mean, one, I just needed a defender, but two, I know that when he's fit, I want to own him. Like, maybe double and blank game week strategy means at some point I've got to sell Gabriel, but without the doubles and blanks, he's in my team every single week when he's fit. No doubts about that whatsoever. He's just that good. I don't have that same feeling towards like a Declan Rice. Again, I think Rice is a good pick, but he's not, I have to own him whenever he's fit good. With Gabriel, he kind of is. So basically what I'm trying to say, if you need a new defender this week, just buy him. Honestly, if you've got the spare transfer and you're not happy with one of your defenders, just buy Gabriel. Yes, Liverpool at home on paper is not a great fixture, but I'll be honest, I've owned Szoboszlai for 2 weeks. I owned Wirtz the week before that. I haven't been that impressed watching Liverpool. I would not be surprised if Arsenal get a clean sheet here. Because as always, they will be in the top 3 in terms of clean sheet odds because that's just how good they are. They will massively limit the chances that Liverpool get. So he could go and get a clean sheet here. And whether he does or doesn't, you will want him from game week 22. Like, I don't even think it's an argument, right? If we were ranking Arsenal players in FPL, like if you were wildcarding, you had to pick 3 Arsenal players, Gabriel would be top of the list, not Rice. So it's perfectly reasonable to avoid him. And it's also worth acknowledging, those of us that jumped on early, we have been lucky, right? He scored and kept the clean sheet in that first game against Villa because he went off early. He's the one that helps wipe the clean sheet against Bournemouth. Then he scores again. How often does a centre-back score 2 games in a row? Like, there's been a lot of luck there. But even without that luck, he is one of the best picks in FPL. So you should just buy him if you can. Whether you should do Timber to Gabriel, I mean, I had this conversation last week and I said I probably wouldn't do it. In fact, I think I said I wouldn't do it. It's a really tricky one because I think Timber is great. And I do like double Arsenal defence. I almost feel like you want Timber and Gabriel. Ultimately, I think Gabriel is the better pick between the two. So I think you can justify using a transfer. But I'm still of the mindset that if you've only got like 1 or 2 transfers and other problems to deal with, like, can you really justify that Timber is your biggest priority? I'm just not sure. I think that's like, if I was in your situation where I had Timber, not Gabriel, I'm pretty sure I would just make the move because I would just want to reduce that headache. But without, there's part of me that still thinks holding on to Timber is fine, and you just work out how to get Gabriel as well later on, whether that's in 22 or 23. You've just got to keep factoring in the price rises. Honestly, if he gets an 8 or 10 pointer against Liverpool, he'll rise again. So he could well be 6.8 million before game week 22, before you're ready to make a transfer. So just get him in when you can, hopefully sooner rather than later. Let's stick to defenders and talk about Nico O'Reilly next, a player that a lot of people thought about selling before the Chelsea game because of his pre-60-minute sub the game before. Unless Nico O'Reilly is your best route to buy Gabriel, I would not be selling him right now. Brighton at home, good fixture. Man United away, good fixture. Wolves at home in 23, good fixture. Next 3 games look good. His attacking stats for the season have still been pretty decent, and his minutes should continue to be really nice because Vardiol went off with an injury in the last game. At the time recording, I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but Pep Guardiola said it didn't look good. I highly doubt he's going to be back for any of the next 3 game weeks. Nathan Ake can just not play multiple games in a row from everything we've seen so far. Played really well against Sunderland, then on the bench for the Chelsea game. And Aït-Nouri's still at AFCON. So I think, unless something changes, Nico O'Reilly is going to start the next 3 fixtures, and he's just a really good pick. I probably wouldn't be looking to bring him in right now, because I do think once you get past 23, you start to get like the return of Aït-Nouri, Spurs away, Liverpool away, etc. Not great. But I think if you own him, I wouldn't. I don't think there's many better defenders over the next 3 weeks, apart from Arsenal ones. You could probably argue Tarkowski as well. I think Newcastle defenders are fine. But honestly, if... I don't know. Yeah, if you could offer me right now, I could swap Lewis Hall to Nico O'Reilly and not use any of my transfers, I think I would take it. Because I think there's way more chance Lewis Hall gets benched for one of the next 3 than Nico O'Reilly. Hopefully that comes back to bite me and I'm completely wrong and Lewis Hall just absolutely smashes it. But I really think that game against Chelsea and the injuries that City have got have made Nico O'Reilly a really nice pick again. I know people that own him are super frustrated because he hasn't kept many clean sheets recently. It was a late wipeout against Chelsea. But I think he's just a good pick for the next 3. Then decide what to do with him after 23. So Phil Foden has already dropped from 9 million down to 8.9, and it does look like he's due another price rise soon, maybe in the next couple of days. I think people are just getting really frustrated because it's 4 game weeks in a row that he's now blanked. So 2 points against Chelsea, 3 against Sunderland, 2 against Forest, and 3 against West Ham. Not great, but we have still got a Man City attacker that is playing 90 minutes every game. Brighton at home next, Man United away in 22, Wolves at home in 23. Those 3 fixtures look really nice. Now, just before I started recording, we saw that Amorim has now been sacked. Fletcher is going to take over on an interim basis. We have seen at times Man United put up a really good game against City. We've also seen many times where City just smashed them. So I don't see that as a terrible fixture for Foden, especially with how Man United have defended this season. And then it's home games against Brighton and Wolves. And I think this week, if you go and look at Rob T's numbers on Twitter, where he puts up the projected goals and stuff for every team, every game week, I'm pretty sure Man City are top this week against Brighton. He's like, I said this on my team selection video, we always want City players that are nailed on. We just never get them. We've got one right here. He started every single game since, what was it, game week 4? Every single game, and almost all of them are 90 minutes. Like, the reason it's frustrating, especially if, like me, you jumped on late, is because all his returns came in this condensed period where he got like 4 double-digit hauls in a row, then it's 4 blanks in a row. At some point, that could even out. Like where he gets like 1 return, then a blank, then another return, rather than getting 2 every week, then 0. He's good enough. Like he hasn't become a bad pick because he blanked. Like I say this all the time in FPL. Sometimes players blank. It's annoying, but it happens quite a lot. Like I don't know. I haven't really looked at wildcard. I don't know if I would keep Foden on a wildcard, but if you've got him, like how many better midfielders are there for the next 3 weeks? Honestly, not that many. There really isn't. Like usual caveats apply. If you really need money to upgrade another spot and you want to do Foden to Bruno G, Rice, etc., whoever it is, Rodgers, that frees you up 1.5 million plus. Great. That might work for your team. I would suggest most people with Foden do not need to sell him. I think it's crazy, in fact, because the next 3 fixtures just looking that good. And I just don't see his minutes dipping. Just going to keep playing every game. When everyone's back from like AFCON and stuff like that, and you know, when they buy Semenyo, etc., maybe it's a little bit different, right? Semenyo and Doku could play wide. Then you got Cherki, Bernardo Silva, Foden that can all play central. But I'm just not sure Foden's going to get dropped at the minute. So I just wouldn't panic about it until it happens. Like for me, Foden's kind of a placeholder to either go up to Palmer or maybe go back to Bruno Fernandes. But until that Wolves game is gone, I'm not really in a mad rush to get rid of him. So I'd probably keep him. There we go. If you enjoyed that video and found it useful, make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button. I will be doing a final thoughts video tomorrow. So if there's anything I've missed in this game, any topics and questions you want me to cover, let me know down in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll catch you tomorrow for that video, plus the deadline stream, which starts at... Is it a 6 or half 6 deadline? It's a half 6 deadline, so 4:30 PM UK time on Tuesday. And do you know what? On Tuesday, we get to look forward to watching West Ham versus Forest. Amazing. Wednesday's where all the good matches are. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Give it a like, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you again soon.